Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope everyone's doing really well. Answering two questions today: picking your major for any student that's going to school, and also picking your programming language. I realized that it's really hard to keep anyone's attention for over 5-10 minutes. When I look at the analytics for some of the long videos, the drop-off rate after like 2 or 3 minutes is crazy. Not many people watch a 10+ minute video, so I'm gonna get this done in 5 minutes and we'll see what I can do. So let's get started. First question I want to answer is picking your major. Audience for this is anyone in school, anyone's a student, anyone looking to switch their major, anyone who's looking to pick what they studied. One thing, I want to make 3 points. The first point is that picking your major doesn't lock you into anything, but you should pick something that's close to what you eventually want to do. So let's just give an example. If you're really sure that you wanted to get into software engineering after school, I would pick computer science. If you're completely sure you want to do software engineering, computer science is the best bet to pick to get a job. But if you pick another major, you can still become a software developer. It just becomes a little more harder with higher degrees of separation. And what do I mean by that? But for me, for example, I did computer engineering, which is 1 degree of separation out, but I still managed to just find my way into software. I have one friend who's a mechanical engineer. That's 2 degrees of separation out, and he did a lot of programming on the side, and eventually he's a software developer now, even though he did all mechanical. And I also know someone that was a liberal arts major, and now she does programming. So no matter how many n degrees of separation you are out from the pure technical ideal major, you can still move into programming. It just gets really hard if you're really further out. So if you do liberal arts, it's going to be harder for you to get into programming. But if you know you want to do software, just do computer science. The second thing that's really easy to do for anyone that's picking what they're going to study is just go online and look at schools' websites and study their curriculum. So a lot of the times when you just see one-off websites or one-off classes or one language, it's hard to get a big picture. What you should do is go to a school's website and they post their curriculums online. So go to one school's website and look how their computer engineering curriculum, the whole 4-year curriculum is different than the computer science curriculum, and study the classes for each one. And then per school, you can do that for multiple schools, because if you look at it from a curriculum perspective, you get the whole picture rather than like individual class or individual language like picture. And with the whole picture, you can make a better decision. All right, third and last point about picking your major, the final thing you should do before diving in and making that final decision is take one step ahead into your future and find your ideal entry-level job. Don't look 10 years ahead, but just look, where would you want to work after you graduate, for example. Maybe it's Intel, maybe it's Nvidia, maybe it's Apple, Microsoft, whatever. Go to those websites, go to their job posting boards and filter for all the new grad positions and read the descriptions of all those entry-level positions. So for example, if you're into software, you could look at Google or Facebook's webpage. If you're into hardware, you could go to Qualcomm or Intel's webpage, but just look at their job listings and read them. All right, just read the job listings. New entry-level grad positions, they will be there, they will have descriptions, and it's just going to lay out what they're expecting, and based on what they expect, you know what you got to do, right? So let's shift gears a bit and talk about the second question about how to choose your programming language. All right, I have 3 points to make about this. First point is, ask yourself, are you learning programming just to learn programming, or are you trying to use an application of programming? Okay, that's the first question you're going to ask yourself, because are you just learning programming? If you're doing that, if you're just learning programming, you can pick any language. It doesn't matter, because you just have to learn about operators, variables, for loops, while loops, all that stuff. If you're looking to use an application of programming, then you have to be a little bit selective. So if you want to do game development, maybe you have to learn C#. If you want to do enterprise software, you got to learn Java. If you want to do web programming, you got to learn some JavaScript, but don't try to mix these two. All right, if you're just learning programming just to learn how to make a for loop, then you just can pick any language. It really doesn't matter. And if you're learning to program with a specific application, then you got to do research and choose your language specifically. Second point about this, choose something that you're not used to. If you've already learned one language, pick something that's radically different. A really common thing to do when learning programming languages is to learn about a statically typed language and then a dynamically typed language. So you can learn about C++ and Python or Java and Ruby. But if you're very used to a dynamic programming language, pick a statically typed one, and it's going to be really different and a very different feel. So first, pick a language that you're not used to if you've already done step one. And once you pick a language that you're not used to, a radically different language, get really good at both of those. Once you get really good at both of those, let's say you learn C++ and Python, then you start learning about object-oriented fundamentals, design principles. Once you get good at that, I would dabble a little bit in functional programming concepts. So once you do that, you'll have a couple really different languages under your belt, and then you'll have two very practical paradigms under your belt. I don't want to talk about functional programming too much because that's my weak point. I'm better at object-oriented stuff, but once you get those two languages, two paradigms, you'll be in really good shape. So third and final point about this, when you're just picking a language, but don't optimize for the latest and greatest, because it's always really sexy. A lot of people have asked, oh, should I learn Kotlin, that new Google programming language for Android? Should I learn Swift, the Apple language? But it's always very tempting to gravitate towards the latest and greatest. But I promise you, I've said this many times, but I promise you that the foundation you build is going to outlast a lot of the latest and greatest stuff. So a strong foundation is going to be the long-term game, because the latest and greatest language, every few years there might be a new programming language for you to learn, right? This year you could be learning Swift, like 3 years from now there could be a brand new thing you have to learn, and that's always changing. But what will never change is the foundational stuff. So if that's the case, if you're asking yourself, should I pick this latest and greatest programming language? First ask yourself, do I know the more basic programming languages that have been around for a long time? And learn those first, because they're not going anywhere. And once you get a good basis of that, then you can go on and learn Swift or whatever like super alien programming language that's going to come out in 5 years. But foundation is always a long-term game, and you want to play the long-term game. All right, don't get too drawn to the new sexy stuff. All right, guys, I'm just going to wrap up the video there. Those are just some of my thoughts on those two big questions, choosing your major and choosing your programming language. Hopefully it was helpful. One other thing I want to leave everyone on is that I don't do any marketing for this at all. Like, I don't have like any knowledge or any effort even, and I should do that more, but I have no effort in marketing. But the very least I thought I could do is, if you thought this video was helpful, I'm just going to ask you to share it, maybe post it somewhere, and just maybe like slightly get the word out. And I'm just going to rely on your good faith rather than me trying to do things, because I really don't like self-promoting too much yet. Maybe I'll self-promote more in the future, but right now it doesn't feel right. So if you like this, please leave me a comment, like the video, and if you're really nice, please share the video, and I would greatly appreciate it. Now I can show you guys the view I've been looking at. Sorry, I wish the bench was facing the other way, but I've been looking at this awesome view while I've been talking to my phone. Here, check it out. The Brooklyn Bridge. All right, that's it for today, guys. See you later.